I think we can start now. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today, which is a part of the Spatial Analysis and Simulation Lab activities. First, I'd like to introduce the Spatial Analysis and Simulation Lab team, Professor Nabil Muharib, the founder of the lab. Thank you, Professor Nabil, for giving me the opportunity to join such a great lab. Thank you so much. And also, I want to introduce Engineering Mariam Magid and Engineering Ahmed Fouad and other team members. Thank you for being there. Today, I would like, first, I would like to make an introduction about the spatial analysis, a small introduction about spatial analysis and simulation lab. Spatial Analysis and Simulation Lab aspires to be a leading center for interdisciplinary research dedicated to advancing the understanding and practice of architecture and urban systems. So far, we have so many activities under the lab, such as research. We have so many research conducted under the lab. We have organized so many webinars, maybe 5 successful webinars. Today is our 6th webinar. And also we have workshops and sort of simulation methods. We are very happy to have you with us today. Today, I would like to introduce Dr. Sahar Abdelwahid. Dr. Sahar Abdelwahid is an architecture engineer and a senior lecturer at the Leicester University, at the Leicester School of Architecture, De Montfort University in the UK. Her research background is in sustainable building design, building performance, and user perception and control of facade systems, particularly daylighting, discomfort, glare, and energy performance in buildings. She held a postdoctoral researcher positions at University Catholique de Leuven, Belgium. Through her academic journey, she was awarded Newton Musharrafa and Fulbright grant in the field of renewable energy and engineering. And she was a visiting scholar at the University of Texas at Austin, USA, at the University of Nottingham, UK, for research and faculty development. She conducted her PhD research jointly between the University of Nottingham, UK, and Al-Azhar University, Egypt, in environmental building design and building performance. Some examples of research topics that Dr. Abdelwahab has been working on include facade design performance, daylighting performance in buildings, daylight glare analysis, visual comfort, energy performance, energy savings in buildings, environmental facade design, user control of facade systems, daylighting and energy simulations, and generative and parametric design, all of which have led to several scientific publications. She has just been awarded the Climate Action Award for Climate Innovation from the DMU United Nations Hub. Congratulations, Dr. Sahar.
Thank you, Randa.
I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for you. And she is a dear friend and colleague. Thank you so much, Dr. Sahar, for accepting our invitation today. Dr. Sahar is going to give a talk entitled Trends in Building Performance Research, Pathways and Postgraduate Opportunities. Thank you so much, Dr. Sahar, again for accepting our invitation. Dr. Sahar, the floor is yours now. You may start your presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, many thanks, Dr. Randa and Dr. Nabil, for your kind invitation. I'm so happy to be here today to present more about my research, and it's going to be like a kind of as I say, like a friendly kind of introduction to me and also to the team. So if you may allow me, I'll just share my screen and start right away.
Yes, you can share your screen now.
Okay, is it clear, the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so before I start, again, thank you, Randa, very much for your introduction. So today's presentation will be about a couple of things. So I wanted to share, my research, a little bit about my research background and the current research topics that I am involved in right now. And also, I will also present some slides related to the pathways for postgraduate opportunities in the UK. So again, Randa, you saved a lot of my time explaining the background. But again, as Randa mentioned, I got my PhD jointly between Al Azhar University in Egypt and the University of Nottingham. The key subject was building performance and sustainable building design. Later on, I got an award, Fulbright Award, to visit Texas University in Austin. And again, it was like a developmental program related to energy and engineering. Later on, I got a postdoctoral research at the University Catholic de Louvain in Belgium, and currently I'm a senior lecturer in the Leicester School of Art, Design and Architecture in the UK. Just to introduce the research background, so again, as I said, I look mainly at sustainable building design, building performance, and again, from the perspective of mainly the daylight performance. So again, how to maximize daylight performance in our buildings, knowing that daylight is a sustainable source of lighting and energy, so how this can be integrated in building design. And then the other dimension related, of course, to energy performance, to how to optimize building performance in terms of energy, how to achieve energy reduction using passive design solutions. The third topic would be the related to user comfort, so user interaction and perception of indoor environment, whether it's thermal or visual condition. My research was like mainly focused on the physical aspects of the built environment, so testing building performance from the perspective of energy consumption, daylight, and thermal analysis as well. But later on, I developed an interest towards the human factor. So how the sustainable building design can be integrated with human factors. And what I mean by human factor, I talk about the building occupants who spend a massive amount of time in indoor spaces, knowing that we spend almost 90% of our time in the built environment. So the access to natural daylight, the access to the view to outside has a massive role in supporting and advancing our health and well-being. And from here, the concept of human-centric design as a research area attracted me to kind of investigate more from a perspective of not only energy performance or building performance, but also how the indoor air quality and indoor quality in general, air, thermal, and visual can impact user perception and comfort. Knowing that also the quality of indoor environment can massively impact occupants' comfort, experience, performance. It has a massive impact on our circadian well-being. So here I will focus more about on the facade design in particular, knowing that the facade system integrates lots of solutions related to environmental design. And for this, I will present a research that I conducted recently related to smart windows. And as you can see, these systems, among others, are newly developed systems that are available in market, and people and the practitioners start to adopt those systems because it has a massive amount, let's say, benefits related to controlling heating transfer and also controlling daylight. At the same time, it provides energy saving. So this is one of the glazing that I studied in my research, which is the electrochromic glazing. As you can see, it's a type of glazing that can change its, a 10th degree and the visible transmittance. You can control it yourself, so it can be manually controlled or it can be automatically controlled based on information that we receive from outside via the sensor or a weather station. So these systems proved actually to have to function as a system that can provide energy savings and also control the heat transfer between inside and outside. And apart from this, there is also this concern about, how those systems can impact the quality of the incoming light. As you can see in this image on the left hand, so the incoming light can be impacted by those systems. Here you can see the bluish, let's say the bluish appearance of the daylight coming from outside. And this actually raises a question how the people perceive, building occupants and people perceive, this kind of light with, let's say, color distorted light or altered light, knowing that this won't affect only our visual perception, but also it has other links to other non-visual responses, psychological and physiological responses. So another point also that I wanted to mention, in addition to the changes that might happen to the quality of the daylight filtered through the system, there are also other aspects maybe related to visual privacy, related to the view to outside. And here, this can be very, very relevant when it comes to this type of glazing because it can alter the view outside, as you can see here in this image. So people tend to maybe report that they may receive the outside view gloomy or overcast, while the reality otherwise. So again, those aspects related to how people perceive, the indoor and outdoor environment with this smart glazing raised a question that we wanted to work on. This can be relevant because, as you can see, the visible light spectrum and how it impacts our perception as human beings. So on the top, so the curve that you can see is the spectral power distribution of the incoming natural light. So you can see the distribution over the wavelength from the violet to the red. This can also be significant when it comes to how people perceive the indoor environment, as I said before. So the color of the light can impact not only how we perceive and how we see things, but also other non-visual effects related to alertness, mood, sleep, etc. Especially if you are exposed to a certain light condition for a long time. On the bottom, you can see 3 different light conditions resulted from a specific system. So you can see, the first image, which is the natural daylight, and then the one in the middle represent the light coming through, let's say, a yellowish kind of system or glazing. It could be caused by, the type of the glazing or any kind of film applied to the glazing. On the third image, you can see that the light quality has again changed a little bit because of this kind of bluish appearance. And again, this is dependent on, the type of the glazing. And you can see on the bottom how the spectral power distribution of the daylight impacted. So you can see like there are some enhancement or suppression happen to the curve for the indoor coming light. We know that those kind of impacts or the changes to the color of the light and the quality of the light can strongly link it to the non-visual responses, as I said before, and also visual responses of building occupants. And for this, we wanted to kind of understand more, see how these systems function in terms of not only energy and thermal, but also how it impacts the perception of people. So the user responses to modified and color altered or obstructed views defined by the degree of clarity caused by, those kind of systems or technology is not fully understood. So we wanted to kind of investigate more to understand how, the different scenarios maybe of this glazing can impact us as human beings. So this project aimed to investigate the effect of dynamic daylight from electrochromic glazing. And again, here I want to highlight that we worked only on electrochromic glazing because other smart glazing technologies, for example, the thermochromic or the photochromic, might have a different appearance. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that our work and our results are exclusive for the electrochromic glazing that we tested in this study. So we wanted to see how the the daylight filtered through the system can impact our perception and visual task performance as well. For this, the approach that we followed is we used an experimental approach using a semi-controlled environment. So it is the one that you can see here in the image. It is a test room equipped with electrochromic glazing, and this type of glazing can be controlled at 9 different degrees, starting from 2% of visible transmittance up to 65 visible transmittance. We tested actually a couple of scenarios, and then we invited test subjects to come and to stay in the room for a while and to do some of visual tasks, and then we invited them to provide their feedback later on. So I needed also to highlight that this research has been conducted at University Catholic de Louvain, and we had also the industrial partner, AGC company, who are the producer of this glazing. They are, they were involved in this project. They kindly invited us to use a test room to do the experiment. And here you can see like the test subjects presented in the room doing some of, the visual tasks using computer screen, as you can see here. And then they were exposed to different scenarios. They didn't know what are the scenarios that they were exposed to. And that's actually part of the experiment, because we wanted, we didn't want this to kind of affect their judgment. For the research method that we used, again, the self-reported questionnaire for them to, give feedback about the perception of indoor light, about the internal objects, how they perceive, the screen of the computer, how they perceive the color of a white paper, for example. This was one of the questions that were asked during the experiment. In addition, we collected some again, answers related to their acceptance via questionnaires, and we made them to, we invited them to do like a visual task performance in order to understand how the light environment and the quality of the light impacted their visual task performance. The last part of the experiment, it was like a more of a observation. And for this, we gave the participants the choice to choose their preferred state of the glazing. So we just let them to play with some controller system to control the glazing and set the tint degree at their preferences at the degree that they prefer. Lastly, these are the scenarios that were tested. So we tested, of course, the basic scenario where we had the glazing fully clear. And then we kind of included other scenarios as well, including the fully tinted and also mixed. So the combination between tinted and a clear facade. These are some of the measurement tools, because while collecting the feedback from the subjects, we also measured the light and also the thermal environment in indoor spaces. You can see some of those kind of light sensors, and also a HDR camera in order to capture the luminance in indoor spaces. This is the questionnaire, some of the questions that were asked. I'm not going to go through all of this right now, but again, I will share at the end the full data and how to access it at the end of the day. And then you can see the layout on the right, on the left side, so how the experiment was set, and also the location of each light sensor. This is a part of the result that we got. So you can see here the spectral power distribution. So the curves that I talked about earlier under different scenarios. And as you can see, there are some differences. So the red one obviously is the daylight. So the standard CIE daylight curve. And then you can see the other scenarios. The dark blue one represent the scenario where the glazing was fully tinted. And as you can see, there is like this suppression in the yellow and red part of the spectrum. But again, you can see the enhancement in the blue part of the spectrum, and that's actually explain why we see the light as with this blue appearance. On the right side, you can see the images, the HDR images that we collected, and again, how the luminance changes and varies between a scenario and another. And again, it's just for us to kind of analyze the visual condition resulted from each scenario, and to try to kind of figure out how it not only it impacts the responses, but also track, the level of luminance, the level of vertical illuminance, etc. For the final conclusion, just a few points to kind of highlight the key results that we got from this research. So the dynamic changes in the spectral composition of the daylight through different states of electrochromic glazing showed not to have a significant or statistical impact on the visual task performance. So when we did the visual task performance under different scenarios, I mean, the changes were kind of slightly different. So there was no significant impact on the visual task performance under the tested scenario. However, the very the very low tinted electrochromic glazing with visible transmittance of 2% showed to significantly impact the participant acceptance and satisfaction, and that's for both indoor environment and also outside view. We also found that the mixed electrochromic glazing scenario, so that scenario where we had the upper part fully tinted and the lower part fully clear, for this one, we showed a better satisfaction, although it's a strange combination or like strange scenarios, but again, it may help to maybe elevate and enhance the naturality of the incoming light. At the same time, you can, use the scenario to kind of control maybe glare at some point, but eventually as we got from the responses and also from the measurements that the incoming light was almost natural. At the same time, you can get the chance to maybe control the level of daylight in indoor spaces. Finally, so here it's actually something that was again supported by other research when this research come out. So the result led to a hypothesis that there might be other factors influencing glare perception than the standard physical variables featured in glare formula. And this is actually we noticed this when we ran the analysis and we asked the participants about their glare perception under tinted states where the amount of light was very low, and we had a low level of daylight, but yet people again reported that they perceived glare at some point, and this kind of led to a suggestion that maybe there is a consideration of potential higher sensitivity under short wavelength light. And again, this was something that was, again, supported by other research focused on glare in particular. Finally, so that's the paper that we published reporting all of the experiment, the procedures, and the key outcomes. You can have access to the full data using this QR code. And I'm happy also to answer your question about this research anytime. So now moving to the second part of this presentation. So again, the idea was to kind of present a little bit about my research background and the research area that I'm currently exploring at the moment. But then I wanted also to kind of give some idea about the research opportunity in the UK for the audience who may be interested. So there are funding opportunities for international students. And again, before going through all of these opportunities, I need to highlight one important thing. These opportunities are highly competitive, and you need to kind of prepare very, very well before applying to any of those opportunities. You have to have like a clear research, research topic. You have to develop a proper research proposal, and then try to highlight your research skills as well before applying to any of those opportunities. So for the master who wishes to study their master degree in the UK, and here again, I need to kind of emphasize that I'm focusing on the international opportunities with a focus on the opportunities tailored for Egyptians, because I know that there are some opportunities, international opportunities tailored for other kind of partnership between maybe Ukraine or China, for example. Here, I try to kind of present more the opportunities that suits Egyptian candidates. So chevening is one of those very famous, let's say, opportunities that you can use to apply for a master's degree. And again, as I said, you need to kind of prepare yourself, prepare your proposal very well before applying to this. The second thing that I wanted also to highlight is the British Council Women in STEM scholarship. This scholarship is for women in STEM. STEM is the science, technology, science, technology, I can't remember the and mathematics,
and
engineering and mathematics. Thank you, Rhonda. Yeah. So again, this I'm not sure, to be honest. I mean, I put all of the opportunities that I know about and I'm familiar with, but you need to go and check, you know, the timeline and the opening date of those opportunities. But again, this could be like a fantastic opportunity for female researcher who wants again to study or do research for 1 year. So that's why it suits maybe a master very well. Also, I wanted here to highlight one of our programs at the Montfort University for the international scholarship. It doesn't provide a full exemption from tuition fees. However, it provides like a certain amount of money to reduce the tuition fees. So again, this could be an opportunity as well. For the PhD opportunities, again, if you wishes to do the PhD, there are many opportunities related to international students. So for this, again, I would advise you to keep an eye on the websites, university websites, because if it happens that a university has a project and they want to kind of employ a PhD candidate to work on this research, you will find this information on their website. Other websites also that can maybe help you to find other opportunities. Find a PhD website. Again, it's one of the very famous websites dedicated to PhD positions. There is the job.ac.uk, although again, it provides a wide range of opportunities, but again, you can also find some PhD opportunities on this website. There is also the Eraxis, that's like a more of European kind of platform. So it provides, again, opportunity for PhD positions in the UK and in Europe as well. And last but not least, of course, LinkedIn, which I personally admire because it gives you, again, lots of opportunities. So, I mean, if you're willing to apply for a PhD position, and again, I need to highlight that those opportunities can be very, very competitive. So you need to kind of prepare yourself very well, equip yourself with the necessary research skill, prepare yourself by engaging with, you know, research fellows in Egyptian universities, try to participate and collaborate with researchers in Egypt or outside. There are another route, which is the international PhD schemes. Some of the universities provide this scheme, which has a reduced fees. In this case, you work in your home university. So if you are based in Egypt, you will do your PhD in Egypt. You don't have to come to the UK or pay for, you know, living expenses, etc. However, you may visit UK for 1 month a year. So again, you do your degree remotely, but at the same time, you have like a maybe a reduced amount of money to pay for this scheme. There are also some international student PhD opportunities. through some other funding schemes, such as Marie Curie. Marie Curie is a European kind of funding, but again, UK is one of the eligible country. I mean, there was like this discussion in the past after the Brexit, but now UK can be involved in such a call. It can be like a joint a PhD between UK and other European university. One last opportunity that I wanted to talk about today is the Midlands 4 cities, and that's like a doctoral training scheme provided by the AHRC funding. And again, as an international researcher, you can apply for this. However, when it comes to the architecture, it focuses on the humanity, art, and the history aspects. So if your research is about is more like technical or more about like architectural engineering, it can be challenging actually to apply for such a grant, because as I said before, it focuses on history, humanity, and art more. So you have to have, you know, your research proposal maybe oriented towards these areas. This call, it doesn't cover the whole UK. It covers only the universities that exist in the East Midlands, like University of Birmingham, De Montfort University, the universities that I'm currently working in, University of Leicester, Nottingham University. So it covers, again, maybe a limited range of universities. So now, moving on to the post-doctoral research. So if you already have a PhD and you want to have like this link with universities in the UK, there are again some routes. The British Council provides a scheme called ISPF, and this, I think that's the third call that they announce, and this is a replacement of the Newton Musharrafa, if I'm not mistaken. So in the past, they used to have the Newton Musharrafa call, but now they discontinued this scheme, and then they started the ISPF. I'm going to talk about this in detail in the following slide, but here I'm just trying to kind of cover other opportunities also for postdoctoral researcher, research councils as well in the UK, like the EPSRC and the AHRC. Sometimes they provide opportunities. And again, if you approach a UK-based university and you kind of develop a research proposal, so sometimes they allow the involvement of international institutions. So we can be involved as a partner or as a co-investigator, depending on the call, of course. There are some university-specific research funding. Some UK universities have specific scholarships or funding for international postgraduate research. And again, for this, you need to keep an eye on the university website, or again, use one of the websites that I mentioned earlier to kind of look for such opportunity. So here, let's focus a little bit on the ISFE, because I think that's like the most, famous one for now. I mean, for postdoctoral researcher who wants to do a collaboration with UK universities. So this call again is provided by the British Council, and they have like different schemes. The schemes are different themes, and the themes are broad, as you can see. So they have a theme about resilience planet, which may fit the sustainable architecture or environmental design, and then they have also the theme for healthy people, animals, and planet, and transformative technologies, and lastly, the tomorrow's talent. So again, if you are associated with a university in Egypt, whether it's a governmental university or a private university, you may maybe establish a connection with colleagues in the UK who share the same research interest and research background, and then you can kind of develop a research proposal and apply for this grant. I tried to put the links. I can share the slides from the other part of this presentation with you after the meeting. And that's all from me. Thank you very much for listening. And if you have any question, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sahar. Very informative and interesting presentation. Thank you so much for your talk. It's very inspiring. Actually, your journey is very inspiring, and I guess uh, most of our participants got inspired from your journey. I also want to say thank you about how you did discuss your research and the integration between industrial and academia, and how it the collaboration came out with such a great results. Thank you so much. Thank you. And now I'm opening the floor for the questions. Dear participants, either you raise your hand and ask Dr. Sahar directly, or you can post your question in the chat, and I will make sure that Dr. Sahar address it. Okay, we have a question from Dr. Nabil Muharib. Dr. Nabil.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sahar, for this informative presentation. And I liked very much, as Dr. Anda was saying, about that you are discussing your research and how it's been linked with the industry. And this is something really needed. And I've realized that you have submitted in July 23 and accepted in April 24.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the typical issue for researchers. They need to be
Well, I mean,
patient.
I mean, it's strange because it really depends on the journal, of course. So some journals are very, very strict about the timeline of the publishing and reviewing the journals. Others, they may take long time. So, I mean, there are like lots of rounds related to reviewing the paper, and then it takes longer than anticipated. So that's it is what it is.
No, I totally understand. I mean, sometimes even exceeding a year. I mean, if it's for some journals, it's really having a lot of cycles of reviewing and re-reviewing and reactive things. So I'm congratulate you about the publication.
Thank you, Professor Nabi.
And really, it's interesting. Well, you have mentioned the word or the term skills a lot when you were discussing about applying for either master's or PhD.
Yeah.
From your point of view, a fresh graduate, what sort of skills they need? Because I see our students, sometimes they want everything, they try to master everything, and sometimes they get, I'm not saying disappointing, but at least they're not focusing or not to know how to focus on a specific aspect or line of research or something that might really help them. From your experience, from your point of view, what sort of skills they need to be prepared to?
Well, yeah, it's an interesting question because a couple of months ago we had this PhD position announced, funded by the university, and we had loads of applications to assess. And it was interesting to see, the variations. So most of the applications were from overseas, and I think looking at the whole, application. So first, I would say if you want to apply for a PhD, make sure that you take the time to develop a research proposal, read a lot, and try to cover all of these aspects, try to develop, I mean, even if the proposal is very, very short, but it really shows the effort put in the proposal. That's one thing. The other thing I also would say, maybe it doesn't apply to master students, but I would say it could be essential for PhD students to show that they have the experience maybe in publishing, even in conferences or presenting in conferences. Again, those skills can be like required or maybe preferable when it comes to the evaluation of the application. Of course, the connection, which is, again, when you approach even someone in the UK university or in European university, you need to kind of showcase what you have, what skills, and you need to show that you are passionate about the topic, etc., for you to kind of establish this connection and maybe encourage them to, follow up with you and develop the application with you, so on and so forth. So I would say, publishing is very, very important. Being involved with as much as possible in research projects that are going on in Egypt, in your home university, or with maybe industrial partner in Egypt. It can work I mean, in different ways, to be honest. But for us, it's important to show that you are keen on this research. You really worked on the proposal supported by recent references, and you have a passion about your research topic.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nabil, for the question.
you.
Now we have Mariam Magid. And Mariam Magid.
Yes, thank you so much for the amazingly informative presentation and for sharing all these amazing opportunities we can get. I have a question related more to the topic. So how can advanced computational modeling method techniques, for example, such as machine learning and AI, can be effectively used in building performance research to drive more innovative and optimized building design process? And also
Thank you, Mariam.
communicate users' preferences more.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy actually that you raised this point because, again, since I mentioned the human-centric design and focusing on people perception and well-being, so that's again another topic that attracts attention. So how people actually behave. So, you know, those kind of observation and analysis of people behavior. And I would say that AI and all of these kind of advanced tools are becoming increasingly important in detecting and maybe kind of predicting the user interaction and behavioral pattern. It's something that I may or may not, I don't know, explore in the future, but definitely something that is timely and very significant to understand people interaction with the built environment.
Thank you so much, Mariam, for your question. I guess we have a question from Madiha.
Hello, and thank you, Sahar, for such a nice presentation. I have a question about the visual task performance. You mentioned that in your study, you find that there was no any significant impact on the effect on the like performance of the occupants. Could you please elaborate that a little more?
Okay, thank you, Madiha. So just to clarify, we did a couple of visual task analysis. So the first one was about the color naming accuracy. And for this, we put the Landolt ring. So that's the usual ring that we kind of, the test that we do when we go to the eye doctor. But those kind of rings were kind of modified. So it was presented in different colors. And then we asked the participants to name the color that they see. And that's one of the things. So we tracked it, we kind of observed and recorded the number of errors that comes from this test. So that's one thing. The other thing also, the visual acuity. And again, that's back to the standard eye test to identify where the gap, where the direction of the gap of the rings. And again, although we found some differences maybe in the visual acuity test, even more than the color accuracy, color naming accuracy test. But again, those changes or those differences were not significant as we expected.
Thank you so
Right,
much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Actually,
thank you for your question. Dear participants, we still have discussion open. If you yes, we have Mariam Magid. We have a question from Mariam Magid.
Yes, I have another question. I always think about it. So how can we as researchers effectively communicate the value and importance of building performance to policymakers, stakeholders, and general public to drive awareness and fundraising for more sustainable future and for sustainable building?
Okay, Mariam, well, I will share with you like my personal opinion. I'm not sure if this applies to everyone here, but I find that this kind of research area is very fundamental in my opinion, because there are a huge interest within the built environment, considering, again, as I said, the amount of time we spend in indoor environment, affecting our health and mental health as well. And that's back also to the time when COVID happened and people were locked in indoor spaces for a long time. So some studies actually in Europe showed that 1 in every 4 group of people was looked in unhealthy indoor environment. And again, that attracts attention from policymakers, from users, from the community towards developing sustainable communities and looking at the health and the well-being of building occupants. So again, it is not only about saving energy, which we all know that the building sector contributes to a high amount of energy consumption because of heating and cooling demands, and also because of lighting, but also from a perspective of people health and well-being, and how with the climate actions going on, and the governmental efforts towards tackling the risks and mitigating the risks of climate change. So those are kind of key points, as I said, tackling energy consumption, reducing carbon emission, and at the same time looking at the sustainable communities. So I would say that this topic, or this kind of research area, is very fundamental. It attracts interest worldwide, and there are lots to be done in terms of policies, informing building standards, and informing also the stakeholders.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mariam. I think we have another question from Madiha.
Yes, thank you. My question is quite similar to what Mariam has asked. Actually, I always wonder, when we talk about the building performance, then why is there always a long debate or criticism about building performance through simulation? So could you please talk about that?
So if you may kind of explain more, is it like about testing building performance using only simulation?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's a good question again, because I mean, simulation results, even with validated engines, can be kind of not 100% accurate, let's say. And again, because there are other psychological and physiological responses of building occupants that may interfere with the overall performance. In the past, I used to deal a lot with building simulation, testing building simulation in terms of energy, heat, and light. But again, even with current standards here in the UK, reinforcing the importance of involving human aspects and user control within the simulation process. And that's actually what recent research tried to figure out. So understanding how people interact and analyze their behavior towards building systems, in order to kind of maybe have some prediction models to simulate people interaction with building system. So there are usually these gaps between the recorded performance, I mean, following the post occupancy, and the simulated ones. Usually the simulated ones are kind of rigid. Maybe they kind of include the physical aspects of the built environment in terms of heat, air, and light. But again, it doesn't count for a very important factor, which is how people actually interact and how these kind of environment fulfill their need. And that's where it comes to their interaction and the changes that they do to indoor environment in order to fulfill their needs. So again, it's still undiscovered, not undiscovered. I would say there are, of course, good effort in this area, but again, it's still ongoing to kind of fully understand and be able to understand other factors that might affect also building performance other than the physical environment.
Thank you so much, Madiha, for your question. I think we are, as we are heading to the end of our webinar, I think I have a few minutes to ask my question. I have one question for you, Sahar. I want to ask about the reaction maybe of your industrial partner towards the research results. Did they maybe did they use it in their development of the smart glass, or what
Yeah.
actually? Yes, can you discuss the action of the industrial partner, please?
So yeah, I mean, here there is like this kind of a strong, in the UK, there is like this strong connection between academia and industry. And the key reason is not to kind of, is not to judge what they do, but rather inform their practice in terms of, you know, the theory behind the manufacturing or the production of the product itself. So, of course, I mean, when my experience when we approached them initially, they completely agreed. They were like very welcoming, and they gave us the freedom to, I mean, to design the experiment as we wish. And again, the idea is to kind of follow up with some recommendation related to the you know the scenarios that we tested. I would say more research also needed to be conducted, also to cover or to be kind of enough to inform the industry in a sense. However, again, it's a step. And again, at least we know that there are some scenarios that may actually kind of enhance the quality of indoor environment. We know at the moment that maybe having like this kind of low visible transmittance may impact people perception and well-being. So that's for them to kind of maybe rework or think about other scenarios, or maybe integrating shading elements, or whatever development that can be done for this technology. So it's a step by step, I would say. So I mean, smart glazing is a huge industry worldwide, and again, although we are so happy about how it performs energy-wise, but again, having, you know, this kind of other angle related to people perception, it needed also to be considered. And I have to say, even the company itself, they had, I mean, by this time, by the time when we did the experiment, they had a whole research also, another kind of research line to investigate more about glare and glare perception, and how to record glare and kind of automatically control the glazing in order to control the discomfort glare. So they do their own effort, and again, having, you know, those kind of ongoing research, it can feed into their own practice, or the manufacturing of electrochromic glazing in general. But again, I needed to highlight that this study was conducted under certain conditions, and we want to expand even more to maybe kind of fully understand how to tackle the negative impacts, let's say, or to address the complications maybe that comes from this technology.
Okay, thank you, Sahar. I think Mariam has a last question. Mariam.
Yes, I was asking about retrofitting, using similar facade treatment into retrofitting old building, and does it have other consideration which would take notice of when retrofitting such old buildings?
Well, honestly, I have no experience with retrofitting glazing facades using a similar technology. I haven't seen maybe like just one case related again to the industrial partner that I saw online, but I wasn't involved really. So I would like actually to know how this kind of technology would maybe contribute to retrofitting efforts, and then the building performance with the integration of this technology. But for me, I had no experience, honestly, with this kind of integration.
Thank you so much, Mariam. And we come to the end of our webinar. I would like to thank Dr. Sahar Abdelwahab for her informative and interesting presentation. Thank you so much, Dr. Sahar, for your time, and thank you for accepting the invitation today.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the arranging. I know that we have been exchanging emails since maybe a couple of months ago in preparation of this talk, so thank you so much for this.
Thank you so much. I also want to thank Professor Nabil Muharib, the founder of the Spatial Analysis and Simulation Lab, and Engineering Mariam Magid for her help today. Thank you so much. And at last, I would like to thank our participant. Thank you so much for your attendance. Thank you so much, Dr. Sahar. Thank you. We hope to meet you in future webinars. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. See you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.